Oh no.
YouTube, what's going on with y'all, man? You already know what it is. Big Cap, the general. Y'all see me, man? If it ain't Big Cap, I'm just not wearing it. It's that simple. But you know the deal, man. No cap, just capital around here. And today I'm coming out with y'all with a kind of a combination video. You know, I'm gonna combine the FTMO update because you know I do have that FTMO series going on right now. And then also I'm gonna go ahead, you know, do my little weekly analysis. But this time I'm gonna go in a lot deeper. You know, I do have a few people that comment regularly and they ask specific questions. So, you know, if you ever do have specific questions, make sure you gotta drop those in the comments because this is really all about your education. You know, I'm definitely not at the point where I'm getting paid for YouTube. So this is all for the love, all for spreading the information. And yeah, I can't help you until you let me help you by asking your questions. So I will be sure to go deeper into my strategy, explaining how I see the zones, and just, you know, making sure everything is crystal clear and easy to understand. So with that being said, you know, I can't go nowhere without asking y'all to drop a like. You gotta drop a comment. And you know, if you know somebody that's interested in Forex, go ahead and share this video for me. It will definitely help grow the channel. You see we going crazy. I'm gonna have to come up with a name for y'all, man. The Big Cap Army or something like that. I don't know. But Big Cappers or something. I don't know, man. But we got 400 views on my easiest Forex strategy video. And I'm hoping this one can go just as crazy because like I said, I do plan on going deep into everything. So with that being said, man, let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Alright guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick things off with AUDCAD. As you see, this is a trade that I actually ended up taking and winning this week. Before we even get into that, I'm just go ahead and define my trading strategy one more time for those who may have missed it. And I'm gonna go ahead and get straight into it. So what I do is I trade off break and retest of levels that the charts have a hard time breaking above or below in a downtrend. So the chart will be moving along, and let's say it hits here and falls away. This is what we call resistance. Resistance is when a chart cannot break above a level. So then when it finally does break above, let's say it hits here, comes back down here. So now this is resistance, right? Like I said, resistance is when it can't break above. But let's say after it comes back down here to hit this level, it bounces up. Now, this is support. So support is when a chart cannot break below an area. So what you'll see throughout this video is that the charts will break above a resistance area, come back down to retest it, and then it'll become support and it'll continue upwards, or vice versa in a downtrend. So now that we got that, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the trade that I took on AUDCAD. And like I always do, I start off on the daily or the 4-hour chart and I find my trend. So to find the trend, you just want to figure out what the chart has been doing. So if you look at the bottom here, since October 22nd, we've been coming up. That's as simple as finding your trend is. Just figure out what the chart is doing over the past however long of a time period. You just want to figure out the general direction of a chart. So then I come to the 4-hour and I find my support and my resistance. I'm trying to figure out where the chart is gonna stop moving or where it's gonna reverse directions and where it's gonna go to. So I find my take profit and my entry on the 4-hour chart. So I come here and we just look for areas where the chart is having a hard time breaking above. So you just do something like that right there. Nothing too complicated. And there's my support. My resistance and my support. That's going to be my entry. So then I zoom out, and for my take profit, I use this long wick over here, and you know, I just drug a zone all the way over. Yeah. Drug that all the way over. And as you see, my take profit is directly in that zone. So if you zoom into the hour, you see more breaks and retests. So these breaks and retests can happen on any time frame. You'll actually see that I actually ended up getting my entry on the 15-minute chart because I just like to be safe about my trades. I want to make sure that the trade is going to do what I think it's going to do. So when originally it rejected here, I waited for it to break above to see if it could break this level here. Once it did, it came back down to retest. I got in and I rode it all the way up. And that's as simple as my trading strategy is. So you know I had to show you guys a trade that I lost because this is trading and losses do happen. But it's all about risk reward management. So as long as your wins are bigger than your losses, everything's going to be just fine. And it also ends up working out because now I get to show you guys an example of the same type of trade but in the downtrend. So I went ahead and just drew this out just to knock this out. And it works the exact same way. Like I said, support here ends up being broken and turned into resistance. So came down, couldn't break below, broke above, finally broke through. When it comes back down to retest, that's when you want to get in and look to close that gap. So usually it ends up working out. Sometimes it doesn't, as we'll see here. And now I'm just going to go ahead and break down this trade. All right, so it's the same process, guys. So I start off on the daily or the 4 hour just to find my trend. And it's really clear here what the chart is doing. You come back up to here, draw a line, we're coming down. And I just draw this line just so you guys can see visually what I'm seeing. I mean, but usually you just want to look for something clear. If you have to look at it and you can't tell whether it's going up or down, just don't trade it. It should be pretty clear whether the chart is going up or down. So got my trend on the 4 hour. Then with a trade like this, I actually ended up going to the 1 hour to find my support and my resistance, just because I didn't get in at the very top of the level. So like I said, this support and resistance can be found on any time frame. And it's not always have to be the high and the lows, like the major highs and the lows. So obviously, this would be a good level to draw, and this would be a good level to draw. But as you can see, the chart doesn't just go straight there every single time. So when it hit here and it started rejecting a little bit, it broke below. So I'll go ahead and draw another zone and see if I can find it on the 15-minute. So if I go to the 15-minute, you'll see that we have a hard time breaking this area. That's where I got my entry at, just off of these wicks right here. And that's why I say these can be found on any level. I actually really like to get my entries on the 15-minute chart. As you can see, both of these last two trades were 15-minute entries. And I just figured that if the trade was going to continue its downtrend, that this would be a good entry for it to continue downwards. So jumped in, had my stop loss above this previous wick, which to me was a safe area to have it, especially because I was only going to close this gap down here. So actually my take profit was a little bit further down here. I was just trying to close the gap based on that major low that I drew earlier. And it was going well. Ended up finding support here instead of continuing through. And because this was early in the morning, I just didn't see it. So by the time I woke up, it had stopped me out. And as you can see, guys, I really wasn't wrong about the trade. As you see, it ended up actually going and hitting my take profit. But sometimes this is just what happens. A chart will find support at an area and it'll make a higher high and then continue down. So all you can do is really learn from it. The thing that I could have done was have my stop loss above this zone. But I mean, at that point, look at the risk reward ratio. It's a 0.9. So I'm risking more than I'm going to gain. And at that point, the trade doesn't make sense. So I just figured that, like I said, if the trade was going to work out, that there would be no reason for it to come back above this wick. I thought it was going to be a pretty quick trade. Ended up not working out, but my analysis was right. It did hit there and then continue back up. So happens sometimes. Take it. Keep on pushing. That's really all you can do. All right, so now that I've went ahead and broke down some of the trades from last week, now it's time to look ahead into next week. So what I've pretty much done is I went through and already highlighted the trades that I see something setting up for as far as next week goes. And I'm gonna go ahead and break those down, but instead of it being like one long clip, I already have the stuff broken down. We'll just go through them one by one. So starting things off with AUDCAD. As you see it, what I've started doing recently is putting these circles. What these allow me to do is just easily identify the trend. I'm really doing this more for you guys so that you can see the way that I see, and this is just an easier way to do it. So obviously, if we're looking for buys, you want it to be an uptrend, meaning higher highs and higher lows. So marking up these lows and highs just lets you see where the high and the low of the movement is. It's not about every individual movement, it's about the overall movement. So this is the overall high. Anyway, so pretty much what this trade breaks down to is just a break and retest of this zone right here. And if you go to the daily chart, you'll see that I have a blue line up here set for my take profit, and that is just based on these wicks here. So I have a wick here and then just marking up these highs. So yeah, simple break and retest trade. And that same thing goes for AUDCHF. It's actually almost the exact same setup. So you see we're in an uptrend on the daily chart. If I zoom into the 4-hour, you'll be able to more clearly see that it is an uptrend. So smooth breaks and retests. Consolidate it for a little bit. And now I feel that we're getting ready to break above. We'll make a higher high, higher low, and then it should continue up. And same thing with this one. I have a zone marked here at these previous lows. Also have some highs in there, and it's also a part of another consolidation zone. So I think that'll be a smooth little trade for next week. This trade, a little less consolidation. This one's a lot smoother. So high, low. We've broken through above this past high. So this may be a trade that I just enter as soon as the market opens, just depending on how it opens. And all I'm doing is, once again, aiming for these previous lows and this previous high. So nothing complicated at all. Skip down to CADJPY. I don't know if I will be entering this trade or not, but I just have it marked up here because it is a very smooth downtrend. I really don't even use trend lines, but this one is so smooth that you see the trend. And it's already broken or came back to retest these highs again. So this would be like another trade that I enter as soon as the market opens. All it did was come back up here, test that, push a little bit higher to hit that trend line. And with this trade, I'm just closing the gap. So when I say closing the gap, all I'm saying is that there's a bridge between what has been done in the chart. So let's say the chart is going up, it goes here, comes down, but not all the way down. Boom. So the way I see it is that there's a gap between the top of this movement and the bottom of this movement. So when I say close the gap, all I'm saying is to close off that distance from top to bottom. So that's all I mean when I say close the gap. I know I had someone ask me that question in last week's video. So now moving on to EURCAD. Once again, we're in a consolidation period here on EURCAD, but overall we are in an uptrend. And now that we have such large candles coming up to the zone, I'm just waiting for it to break above, run into some resistance, probably here. I have it marked up at this wick at the top right here. So it'll probably hit there, come back down into the zone, and shoot up. Once again, another gap closing trade. All I'm doing is closing this gap right here. On EJ, same type of scenario. I like this one a little bit better. I may end up taking this one over the last trade just because of how smooth the trend is here. We break, come back and test. So, but overall it is the same scenario. And the good thing about having zones is you're prepared for whatever to happen. So based on compared to when you use trend lines, if you put a trend line and let's say it breaks below your trend line, let's say I have it like this. Now all of a sudden you're thinking sells, which wouldn't have been a bad idea. But as you can see, we still continued up. So when you have your zones, let's say for whatever reason, it does this. Instead of continuing up, it breaks below. and then it hits here, and then hits that zone. Now I'm ready for a sell. So the good thing about these zones is I'm prepared for whatever to happen. And my take profit to be to close this gap right here. And I'll put a line, that way you guys can see what gap I'm talking about. But I'll be closing this gap. So that's what I like about putting zones. It just allows you to see what's going on versus putting your own opinion on the market. So yeah, simple break and retest trade here. That is my strategy. I'm closing this gap here. And it just really does not get any more simple than this, in my opinion. So on GBP AUD, the good thing about GBP pairs this week is that we did have a lot of news come out. They have officially went into another lockdown. So with that being said, obviously their economy is going to be a lot weaker. And for news and stuff, you can just go to myfxbook.com, and yeah, you'll see everything you need to see. This has a little bit of an effect on the pairs, nothing too much. The trend will really tell you everything that you need to know, but the news will kind of have some type of impact. So we're already in a downtrend, but the news is definitely gonna just speed up that movement. And yeah, we're in a downtrend, hit here, broke above, came back to retest this level, and it broke, retest, we're in, and I have my stop loss just a little bit above the wick, just because I don't know what could happen. Last week was a really weird trading week for me. I had several trades go into profit and then end up closing me out. So I'm just trading a lot safer now. I may even put it a little bit higher just in case. Yeah, so just like that. So nothing but GBP sells this week. That's all we're looking to take on the Great British Pound. And on this one, I even have I have the whole entire move mapped out on GBP NZD. So same type of trade. So what I'll be looking forward to do is break below, just because it's already broke and retested this level, continue downwards. And just because this is such a large wick here, I believe that that'll be like the next level of resistance once it breaks below there. And ultimately, it'll just end up closing this gap over here, just because there's nothing else to stop it. We now have USD CAD. With this, I'm just waiting for it to come back and retest these lows and continue down. I'm pretty much saying the same thing over and over again because that's my strategy. I look for the same setup: break, retest, enter. So when it does that, I'll really just be looking to close that gap, and it's based on these wicks way back here. So one thing that you'll notice is that these resistance levels continue on forever. Way back here, we're in July of 2018, but if I put a line, you'll see that the chart even today respects that resistance level. So that's just a major key. If you see something, I tend to hold it. If I put this here, you'll see that we still get some wicks around this area. It uses it as support here. So these resistance and support levels last forever, in my opinion. I may just hold it until here. Still a 2.6 risk reward ratio, can't complain there. So those are the pairs that I'm looking at to trade this week. As you guys see, nothing really changes. It's always break, retest, enter. Stop loss above my last resistance zone. And that's as simple as it gets. Trading does not have to be hard at all. It can literally be that simple. I have no indicators. I really don't even use the Fibonacci. I'll make a whole nother video on that. But if you just can see your support and resistance levels, you know what the charts are going to do. If you know what the charts are going to do, there's money to be made. With that being said, guys, hopefully you learned something. Slow the video down if you need to really see how it is that I pinpoint my zones. And don't forget, you gotta drop a like, you gotta drop a comment, and please share the video. Like I said, that'll really help. I know we've been going crazy on YouTube, but it's levels to everything. I'm trying to get to the next level. And look forward to the FTMO update again next week. It's a strong possibility that I finish up some challenges this week. I am up 3% on one of my FTMO accounts, and things are looking good. So that's it for me, guys. I'm out of there.